But anywho, let's see. Another one of your favorite threads.
Oh, jeez. Oh, favorite threads.
And I don't have to be involved in it. You know.
Yeah, honestly, like, referring back to the earlier trifecta of, like, a solid thread, a going fast, and a lot of back and forth, and plenty of XP. One of my favorite threads that I actually remember was a Danger Room thread that I did with a mutual friend of ours, Lord X. And it was a thread between two of our custom characters. Mine, McCoy, who I won't even touch on right now. Australian thief. Let's just go with that and be done with it for the moment. And a custom character of his named Mystic, who, again, a custom character, would take way too long to go into badass karate shapeshifter woman, I guess. I think so. And for the record, a Danger Room thread is kind of a non-canon place where you just have two characters fight. It doesn't have to be canon. It can be canon. I don't think we ever determined if it was or not, honestly, this particular thread, but we both just went back and forth, back and forth, back and forth on it. And both of the characters they had decent defenses, they were very fast, very agile, and so we were able to do a lot of interesting combat in it, but because neither was really, like, getting beaten the shit out of, they could still talk and quip like you see, like, Spider-Man do in his fights, you know? So there was a lot of interesting techniques and tactics going on, making use of that, and it went fast, and it went quite a ways. I want to say we went through like 3 pages worth of thread in like...
Which for a Danger Room session is...
we made a lot of posts in a very short period of time. Like, I want to say the thread only lasted like 3 or 4 days, and we got a shit ton done in that time. And we were both pretty proud of ourselves for it too. Like, oh, damn, fucking beat that, anyone. I think it might have been beaten by now, but it was. I thought it was interesting. I like that one. It stands out in my mind. I've had a lot of favorite threads in canon. A lot of them having to do with obviously my favorite characters, which would be ones like Prodigy, who is based off the comic one, but I tweak a lot of my characters, guys, so it'd take too long to get into, but ones with my character McCoy, who is my favorite. He was my first original character on the site. He was my first character on the site, and he still holds a special place in my heart. So, he's one of my favorites. Iron Cross, who I mentioned earlier, is another of my favorites. And I tend to like his threads, too. It's hard for me to pick particular children that I love more than the others.
All right, since you started it, your least favorite character that you have.
Oh, God. See, here's the thing. I've got...
The one that you sit down and is like...
Yeah. I'm going to have to say... because here's the thing, there are some characters who I've considered getting rid of, and I'm not going to include them for that reason, because if I'm considering getting rid of them, they're not really my characters. Though one character which I really would not want to get rid of, but sometimes I just kind of want to shove a spike in my head rather than post them, and it's mostly due to conditions, I want to say, is Terex. Terex is my main villain character, and when I first started on the site, I kind of got almost, he kind of, in character, seized control of a team because the original person who made the team left. And so the Chaos Swarm was formed, and it's hard to be a villain. It's hard to be a villain when there are so many heroes. See, the NPC villains, have the benefit of being as strong as they need to be. A PC villain still has to play by the same rules, though, as the heroes do, so it can be very difficult. I'm sure you've encountered that with Outrage. And unless you do things that are like of a very specific nature with another person, it can be really hard to roleplay that character in a way that you can find, I'm not sure, like just pleasing, I guess, in a way that feels like you're doing it justice. But like, I think that's mostly it. It's just the fact that he's a villain, which can be kind of hard to just roleplay around heroes.
Yeah. I mean, I remember when I first created Outrage, because I've been playing Outrage forever on all the Marvel sites that I've ever been to.
Yeah.
You know, he's a character constantly evolving.
Mm-hmm.
And I've noticed when I first started Marvels back in, Casualties of War, that he was like one of the few actual villains.
Yeah.
It's like nobody wants to play the bad guy. And from a writing point of view, that's the most fun.
Yeah.
Because it's challenging. You got to put yourself, it's like, well, I'm a hero. I do this. Well, I'm a villain.
Yeah.
I have to do this. Why do I do this and this?
I think one of the biggest problems with being, like, playing a villainous character in this sort of scenario is, first of all, like, you do, like, especially given the genre, kind of, you do have to understand that your villain is, more often than not, in the end, going to lose. Because that's the nature of the genre. The heroes win. That happens. But, at the same time, like, this is where the role-playing versus, like, plot writing comes in. Like, you have to hope that the people playing the hero characters feel kind of similarly, because if they just whoop your ass, it's not any fun. It's not any fun if, like, your villain's literally just not a threat. But some people, they will role-play their, they role-play their characters, how they are, and... well, if they happen to have higher powers than you, then they'll roleplay them beating you. Which,
Which I have no problem with that.
It's gonna happen. It just sucks to play a villain in that scenario because all it comes down to is I make my appearance, I attack, and then I have to try to fucking run away.
I gotta get the fuck out of there. Or it's even worse when you have a certain weakness and one of the heroes can exploit that weakness.
Yes. I will.
That's always the rub.
Like, to touch on role-playing, text role-playing in a different setting, which, I do this. I also do role-playing on Warcraft, which I know I just got like 1,000 nerdy points in the eyes of anyone. Yeah, I know.
So far, 9,000!
It's definitely a different experience than Forum RP. But one of the things especially established is how combat works. And it's usually done there by way of relatively simple dice rolls. Which, because I know that's traditionally how it works in like Dungeons and Dragons and whatnot. But I have observed, and sometimes that's kind of inconvenient because your character is literally going to succeed or fail at the whims of dice. But I do like the idea that no matter how strong you say your character is, there's still a chance of failure.
Right.
And
because that's how it is in the real world.
Exactly. And unfortunately, if I had to make one major complaint about Marvels, which I still love the site to death, is that there is a point where a character will reach where they fail entirely at your whim. Like, I have characters like that where I have to... I kind of cripple them. I try to cripple them because if I don't, nothing is interesting. It's kind of like in a video game, if you get your character too strong.
Too fast.
The
game kind of becomes boring.
Blow through the game. And that doesn't hold a lot of appeal to me. Maybe that's just me. But I don't know. But...
No, I completely understand that, because I've done that with, like, Skyrim recently. I used a stat cheat, and I basically just walk up to dragons now and punch them, and they die. Which is awesome!
It is awesome.
But I've pretty much burned through the main storyline already.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like, because I'll admit I've cheated at games before. Not multiplayer games. No one go fucking crucifying me by my friggin' nutsack. Okay. But I have cheated at games before. Just to, have fun with it, and you can have fun with it, but there's more fulfillment if you don't get stuff handed to you. So typically I'll cheat and then, kind of, I like, for harder games, I'll cheat till I know what I'm doing.
Yeah, just give you a
advantage, kind of. And then I'll start over and I'll do it normal. Or I'll do it on easy mode. Because that's about normal.
Yeah. Some games you have to do easy mode.
I have to, yeah.
I'm saying in general. So there's some games like Ninja Gaiden.
I wouldn't know. That's a hard game, and I don't play hard games.
That's a very hard game. We're talking almost the difficulty, like on the highest setting, difficulty is almost to be the guy difficulty.
Don't even. You don't know.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
You weren't there.
Yes, I do. I watched them. Them all.
It's not the same. It's not the fucking same. You won't know it till you.
Oh. God.
There I was, hopped up on jungle mushrooms in Cambodia. That's what it's like. No offense to Vietnam veterans. I'm sorry. Don't hurt me.
All right, we're already pushing an hour, so let's start reeling this in a little bit. Favorite and least favorite characters you have out of the 23. Yes, 23 characters.
I already said what my least favorite is. More or less is Carrick's, just because he's so hard.
Awesome character. Don't get me wrong. I like the way how you portray him.
Yeah, it's not
because you do it in the way of he's a god amongst mortals.
He likes to think he is, anyway.
Yeah, even though he's not. But that's how he sees himself. He's fun to roleplay. It's just hard to put him in situations where I feel I can do his character justice. I feel like most of the time I'm playing him, I'm more just calculating the odds of him surviving, and that makes it less fun. My favorite character is McCoy, the Australian thief I mentioned earlier, because he's completely original. Okay, I can say he has inspirations. You might have died again. I'm not sure. Say something? I don't know. Did you kill? No, I'm listening to you.
Just making sure. I didn't hear any.
I'm being a proper host.
I didn't hear any background noise. That's why. So, no problem.
Right. I'll do it better.
Anyways, Australian thief. I basically concocted him entirely through random selection. Like, just randomly picking powers and shit. He turned out way better than I expected. And he's one of my favorite characters I've ever made in anything. And even if Marvel's completely disappeared off the face of the earth, like, if the site just got nuked, I would keep Fane. Like, out of all my characters that would survive off Marvel's, I would keep him. And just make him into whatever I needed to do something more with him, because he's an Australian thief who is at least partially possessed by like a Chinese weather spirit, a Yao Guai, which you may have heard that term in relation to other things before. I believe it's been in a couple of vampire games, like what do they call it, the Masquerade?
Yes, Vampire the Masquerade.
I believe it made it into that game. There's a thing called a Yao Guai in Fallout, but it's none of those things as far as I know.
Something completely different.
You can look it up. Google! But, he's just this weird little eclectic mix of things, and I think it works really well. I have such a blast role-playing him, because he is a bad guy because he steals stuff, but he does have his own moral code. He tries not to kill when he can, and when shit really does hit the fan, he does prefer to be on the good guy side of things, because he's a bad guy, but he's not chaotic. You know, like
So he's a gentleman thief.
Pretty much, yeah. Like I would compare him to like if I realized this after, if there was any inspiration for him just subconsciously in my mind, it would be this is going way back, like thinking like, oh, what did I watch as a kid? Probably like Aladdin before he became, you know, I'm a prince, brr, you know, like he's a thief. He's stealing. Like Aladdin, Robin Hood, that sort of thing. Granted, he keeps it all for himself, and he's far from poor.
Right.
But it's that same mindset. He doesn't steal from poor people. He steals from people who certainly aren't going to fucking miss it. Oh, you own a helicopter or two? I'll just take one of those if you don't mind.
You have two! You got two!
Well, we can dogfight now. You really justify the use of that first one.
Or my favorite, just steal a jet ski.
Yeah. Why not?
Why not? And then I'll try to keep the jet ski for as long as possible. How many threads did that jet ski make it through?
His jet ski, he still has it. That's actually his. Like he's had that thing custom designed because.
Oh, I thought you stole it.
It might have originally been stolen, but he had it custom modified.
Okay.
And he used that to get around because he does most of his work in Australia and all the islands in Indonesia and everything. So he modified it for distance, and it's a tiny little jet ski. It's hard to find in the big, big ocean. So that's how he got around like undetected most of the time. He doesn't use it so much anymore because I've had him expand his distance, so now he actually does have to charter flights and everything. He's becoming more mature as a thief. But, man, he still has...
my God, you mean character progression in a roleplay?
Yeah, believe it or not. He's getting up there, man! Oh. He's not going to be, you know, eternally, like, in his mid-20s forever. Now he's, like, mid-late 20s after 7 years. Sliding time scale, don't question.
Well, it's a comic book time scale. Yeah.
It's one of those things. Some people are growing up, some aren't. Like we don't really address it. La la la. What the teenagers are.
How great would it be if, like, every 2 years we had to increase our character's age by 1?
Well, I don't feel like they would have that much of an effect in the long term, because, like, you know, how long can this really go on? But
it's been going on for almost 7 now.
That's true. We would have everyone be at least 5 years older by the end of a decade.
And who knows, it could last that long.
It definitely could. But anyways, who are your favorite and least favorite characters? You've got a lot less to choose from.
I have a huge less. Huge less?
I like
huge less. I got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I have 8 characters on my list. Oh, and that's one thing we didn't talk about was the character list.
Yeah.
Each of us play multiple different characters.
And admittedly, at least in my case, I have hoarded some. Well, I would like...
Not as bad as some people. What was the record? Like almost 30 at one point? Mm-hmm. Someone had, who quit, I'm not going to say his name, he quit, used to be in charge of the X-Men.
Oh, okay.
Had like 30 different characters.
He had quite a few, yeah. I don't think he had that many, but he did have quite a few that... And here's the thing, like, if I may offer some defense for myself, is that a lot of the characters I have claimed are, they were abandoned. Like, people played them and then they abandoned them. And
which actually does happen quite a bit.
It used to happen a lot more than it does. Captain America, he was played by somebody else. He led a team. He was abandoned. I stepped up to try and play him. Cyclops, same deal. Venom, I honestly kind of stole that character more. Sabretooth was being played by somebody. They got banned. I took the character up. There's a few of them like that, and those are like my most famous characters in the Marvel universe too. I want to say those are the characters I have, which most people would actually know. And no, like I had Nightcrawler for a while. I think you have him now, and
yeah, I haven't now. Still haven't done anything.
It happens. But
I plan on it. Don't get me wrong,
dude. I got like 20 fucking characters. But no, like I had him for much the same reason. Somebody wanted to play him, but didn't think they could do a good enough job of it, so I took it upon myself to give it a shot. And then I found out you can do a really fucking good Nightcrawler, so I was like, here, you can use this better than I can.
Oh, Lord. Yeah.
Anyways, your favorite, least favorite? We got kind of side.
Yeah, we do that. Yeah. We do that. I would have to say my favorite, contrary to popular belief, is not Outrage. It's actually Belial.
I can see that. I can totally see that.
Because Belial, there's a lot more range to him.
Yeah. I can definitely see it. Yeah. Because,
there's the strong, confident, blah, 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 face that he puts on for, everybody else in the X-Men to see. And then there's kind of what he's really going through. Like, in his profile and even in the roleplay, I made it so he doesn't live in the mansion with everybody else. He's actually got a loft above the garage.
Yeah.
Because he's hiding from everybody.
Yeah.
Even though he's a very outgoing, very, fun to be around person, he still hides from everybody, which I felt was really important to the character. And plus, I kind of play him a bit like more of a mouthy version of Jackie Chan.
I can see that.
If that makes any sense. Because, he's a hero. So he's not going to go around killing people, while other heroes are like, oh, I'm going to shoot you in the face because America.
Yeah. But to be fair, I think we do have a fair amount of people who try to play by the I don't kill people rule. We do have more heroes who will kill than I feel like the actual Marvel Comics do. But, relatively, obviously Marvel Comics has more because Marvel Comics has somewhere in the vicinity of hundreds of heroes, so...
Hundreds.
But percentage-wise...
Percentage-wise, yes. But, I felt that was a very important cornerstone. Especially given the fact he's with the X-Men. The X-Men are supposed to be, the best example of mutant kind.
Yeah, they definitely endeavor to not kill anyone.
Yeah. Plus, it's better. It's like, you just got beat up. You'll live.
You'll live. Walk it off. I don't have any legs.
Walk it off. Come in. But you broke my leg.
They'll get better. We have healer mutants.
You'll get better. Here, have some milk.
It does the body good. Stay in school.
Good for your bones.
Don't do drugs.
Stay in school. The more you know.
And knowing is half the battle.
Damn it, you beat me to it. But, yeah, he's a lot of fun to write for. I mean, I really haven't gotten much of a chance to get dramatic with him yet.
But, yeah.
It's going to happen, and when it does, it's going to be damn. If I do say so myself. It will be damn. Because I have plans, and when they hit, it's going to be awesome. And let's see, my least favorite? That's kind of a tough one. It's actually a toss-up between two characters. Both of them are canon characters, too.
Yeah.
And it would have to... between Emma Frost and Anaconda of the Serpent Society.
Have you really had a chance to play Emma Frost a whole lot?
It's been trying. I actually have a file on my desktop of her, because we got to do something with the fucking Hellfire Club. I love the Hellfire Club to death. One of my favorite villains, along with the Hand and the Brotherhood. But every time I sit down to write for her, it's instant. My mind just locks up. I can't.
Okay, I think I can see that.
It's frustrating because I know the character. Even with her altered history, I inherited Emma Frost from another player, who, much like Richie here, had way too many characters.
Yeah.
So I was like, yeah, I'll take her. Oh, yeah, sure, I can handle it. No.
I really would get rid of more of mine. It's just like, I want to make sure they go to good homes, you know?
Yeah, it's like you don't want to drop them off at the shelter because they're going to be dead a week later.
Exactly. Or they'll have stupid, ridiculous powers because somebody's like, I want to be original. Fuck you.
But you just made the same character. No, I didn't. Yeah. Anyway. Yeah, she's my least favorite right now because I'm just having a hard time getting into the mindset for her.
That can be especially frustrating. I get that because there are some characters that I have I can't name off the top of my head, but I know I have run into that wall where it's hard to get into the mindset of particular characters just off the cuff. And sometimes I've deliberately tried to roleplay characters. I have certain characters I consider really accessible that I can roleplay very easily. And they're still different from each other, though. And sometimes I'll springboard off of them, kind of from one mindset to another, so that I can easier slip into it, you know, which that sounds kind of dirty. Easier slip into it. But, with McCoy, he's not a villain, but he does have that sort of... His morals aren't exactly up to code with a lot of other characters, and
he's still a thief.
And so from his mindset, I can more easily go into the mindsets of my other characters with similar morals or lower morals that I can't easily just hop into from my normal day-to-day burp on a computer mindset.
Yeah, and honestly, that's the reason why Outrage isn't one of my favorites. Even though he is one of my favorites, he's not my top favorite, right?
Yeah. I think you might have also muted again. Yeah, you definitely muted again.
Yeah, I did. Yeah, definitely. What was the last thing you heard? Damn it.
Outrage is one of your favorite characters, but not one of your favorites right now, I think is what you were saying.
Yeah, because he was such a one-dimensional character when I first started creating him for this site. He was a mindless killing machine, no remorse, no nothing. But, that got boring after a while.
Yeah.
So I started making changes to him so he would actually start evolving, and some of the storylines that have led into this have been really good, like the Challenge of Champions.
Yes.
That battle thread between him and...
Contest of Champions, I think is...
Contest of Champions, yes. COC.
Yep.
The cock thread.
Cock thread.
Yes.
We've had a few cocks on the site.
Quite a few. But
it's all a lot of build up to a grand finish, to say the least.
Yes. Really working the cock for a grand finish.
Eyebrow humor, folks.
Woo!
A lot of grand finishing cocks in the Ratt Kast tonight.
Oh, you have no idea.
Anyways, continue.
It was the fight between him and another friend of ours character, Mika.
Oh, yeah? Okay.
Which, in this battle thread, she wasn't there. She was a telepath, but you weren't allowed to use telepathic powers.
I think...
Because that's kind of...
Yeah, I think you could use some of them, just not the I control you ones.
Not the mind control.
Yeah, because that was considered too cheap.
Yeah, because you could just say, all right, lay down, I win. Yay!
By the way, these rules were being forced by an extra-dimensional being. So we weren't just saying, you can't use them. There was actually, an in-character, in-plot reason why they couldn't just throw them out there.
And certain things happened in that thread, which made me realize is, I do need to evolve him. He does need to... And he's still going through that, so he's not quite my...
Yeah, a character in a transition phase can be really difficult to adjust for, because they're having a hard time with it, and as a writer, that means you're going to be having a hard time with it, too.
Well, even worse time. Because not only it's like, okay, I'm a psychopathic killer, but I'm starting to realize that I wasn't the only one who suffered throughout my life, blah, 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 blah.
And it could be especially hard to, sympathize with that, not being a psychopathic killer.
Yeah, how can I make this character likable after I've worked so hard to make him so unlikable?
Yeah, that can be tough. I can see that.
But as for my second least favorite character, it would have to be Anaconda.
Yeah.
Blanche. Why did I agree to her? Why did I agree to that?
Hey man, don't look at me. Your character.
We're making the Serpent Society. You want to join? Sure. I'll do Anaconda. She's a cool character. Generic post. Fuck, I hate this bitch.
I think if that,
I really hate this.
I think in that case, especially with characters like that, because I've had stuff like that too. You really got to try to think, okay, how can I make them likable for me to write? Like, what can I add to them to make the, and especially since the Serpent Society hasn't been there's been a lot of stalling. There's been a lot of stalling on Marvels in general over the past year, so it's starting to pick back up again. But the Serpent Society definitely was one of them hit hard by it, and that's not enough time to really get into a character with too much.
Yeah, it's not. I mean, we only had maybe 2 threads.
Maybe. So
involving them, and they both died off pretty quick.
Yeah, so it's understandable that she'd be kind of low on the list, because you don't have a lot of, experience with her. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but...
yeah, I guess that works. Yeah. I, once again, really haven't developed
Exactly.
her. I haven't put her in any scenarios where the character can actually come out.
Yeah.
That's where they can't unfold.
Yeah, I knew what you meant.
Transmorpha. Hurdy-turdy big word.
Exactly. I think you had it. I think you had it best when you said develop.
Yeah. Let's go with that. So that's.
No, I can definitely see that.
My list.
I do have some characters who I haven't role played as much as I'd like, which. That's the thing. I don't put them in the dislike column because I just don't have a good enough read on them yet to really say one way or another whether I like or dislike them. But for me, it's more, I've got so fucking many.
Yes, you do. And I'm looking at the list right now.
Don't look at my list. Don't say the list.
I'm not going to read off who's on the list, but I will have to say one of my favorites that I haven't talked about that you do is actually one of the least interesting characters in Marvel's. The one, the only Cyclops.
Right, Cyclops.
Mr. Bland-O-Matic.
Yeah, I'll admit, he like I said earlier, he was one of the ones I took up under the fact that he had been abandoned twice. He had actually been abandoned twice. I took up the X-Men.
Oh my God, that's right.
I had taken up the X-Men because they'd been abandoned, and I'll be honest, for the longest time, Cyclops was one of my least favorite characters because the X-Men was in such a just horrible state. It was in such a bad way because it had seen multiple people try to take it over, multiple false starts. Half the characters had been played by multiple people because they kept getting rid of them because nothing was happening. And admittedly, I haven't been able to do a whole lot with them because of the aforementioned kind of general slowdown. But he's definitely no longer in that slot because we did a pretty massive retcon of just the shit that had happened.
And the best part about that retcon is it made sense.
Yeah, yeah, it did. I will never be the sort to say, you know what, let's retcon things just for the fuck of it. But it really needed to happen.
No, it needed.
Yeah, it needed it. It was definitely the quote plot of the X-Men was dying under its own weight, and it needed to be straightened out and just formalized some. And it's made Scott somewhat more enjoyable to write. And he is still Scott. I try to keep him as, he's strict. He does what he has to protect his family, sort of thing. But I do try to add that he is not a cardboard cutout. He's strict.
And honestly, that's why I created the Belial character.
Yeah.
Was kind of an opposite of Scott. Where Scott's so calm and collective and, very calculating, Belial will fly off the handle.
Yeah.
He's very emotional. He puts a lot of that out there.
Yeah, I can see that. That's a good parallel, too, because even though Scott's not, like, a super big extrovert like Belial is, he's not really hiding from anyone, either. He does stay amongst everyone. He's he's just always there. It's just, he's not all like, woo, party dudes! Blows a hole in the room. Which is a big part for why he's so calm and cool.
Exactly, because he's very powerful.
When he glares at you, you know it.
Yeah, you know it. You can feel it.
And then you cross state lines. Because you've been blown the fuck away. Yeah. One of my favorite things I've ever seen of Scott was actually a more recent thing. Like, not my Scott, but just Cyclops in general. By the way, yeah, if you haven't caught on yet, we're talking about Scott Summers' Cyclops. I hope that's kind of implied, but if you're not a Marvel nerd, that might not be. Cyclops, Scott, the guy with the laser vision. Optic blast! That sort of thing.
Optic blast!
But one of my favorite things I've ever seen from the comics was, the Sentinel lands right outside of the X-Mansion or something, and it is all, brr, Sentinel, whatever, I'm giving orders, mutants. And Scott's just like, he says something like, I've said it before and I'll say it again, and he does this little optic thing. He just blows the Sentinel away, like it's just gone. And then he, closes his visor. There's just a smoking crater on the ground, and he's just, get off my lawn. just the smoke rising from the visor and the crater and just all that. It was just so perfect, and I felt very indicative of what he is. It's not it's kind of witty, but at the same time, it's what old men say. Get off my lawn, you whippersnappers. Except
I say it all the time.
See. But except in this guy's case, he's got laser vision, and he's talking to a giant robot.
Giant fucking robot.
So it adds a dimension that I really enjoy.
It does. I think this is a good point to wrap it up again.
Hey, we were bringing it in. Now we're wrapping it up. You may have been lost again. James's microphone. Never forget. He's still gone. Oh.
There we go.
Ah, yes, there it is.
Jesus Christ!
You really gotta get a new mic.
I do, and I hate this because it just, whatever.
Yeah, I get it. I get you.
Fucking hell, why? Why me?
Alright, wrap it up before you disappear again.
So, anything you want to pimp out real quick, since I got you here?
You probably already thrown my channel up at some point. If you haven't, now's a good time. But, at any rate, I don't really got anything else other than that. Watch my stuff. You'll hear more of me.
and sometimes
sometimes you yes. Hopefully we'll be doing more of that in the future.
Yeah, that was fun. Yeah, this is James, ECW James, for the Ratt Cave. This has been Nerd Stuff. Thanks for tuning in.
Later.